You know, there are some folks out there that think that you should be reasonable about how you remove your snow. Like only use your snowblower if you have 4 inches or more of snow. So I'm curious, is there some list of rules to follow about when it's okay to use a snowblower and when we have to use a shovel? Well, I'm glad you asked, because in fact, I found a list of 5 rules recently that somebody posted. And if you don't fit into one of these 5 categories, you should not be using a snowblower. Did you know that? So let's dissect that list today, see if we agree with this guy or not, and have a little fun with it. All right, now before we get to that list, there was a comment recently on a snow removal video that I did from Michael McCotter, and he's got a little bit different take on when he uses a snowblower. Now, Michael says he has a 1/3 of a mile road, single lane, that's not maintained by anybody but him. He says it takes a plow or a pusher 4 hours to clear his driveway in a major snow event. He's not able to get the snow moved efficiently where it can get off the road. Instead, Michael uses a 28-inch walk-behind snowblower to take care of his 1/3 of a mile long driveway. Now, as a point of reference, the driveway we put out at our new property is about a 1/3 of a mile long. I can't imagine using a walk-behind snowblower to clear that. Has anybody done anything like that? That seems like a crazy long driveway to tackle with a small, barely over 2 foot wide walk-behind snowblower. To me, that's a glutton for punishment. Hey, so we're not the only guys around here that like snowblowers. In fact, we're gonna sprinkle in some snowblowing videos from a lot of our favorite YouTube channels. We'll post links to their channels down below as well, but I'd encourage you to check them out and see what they have to say about their snowblowers. All right, so Kevin Kinkead from the Crossing Board posts this article, all right? And we're gonna dissect this a little bit more, but he says, just because you can use a machine to do something, should you actually use it? And he says no. What's that about? He says there is such a thing as overkill. I would disagree. He says crazy things like, you wouldn't use an F-350 to commute to work. Apparently, he hasn't seen my truck. He says you wouldn't use a chainsaw to trim your hedges. Apparently, he hasn't seen these videos on YouTube. So let that shape your perspective about the kind of guy we're talking about here when he's saying a snowblower shouldn't be used. All right, so now for snowblower rule number 1. If you can shovel your drive in 15 minutes or less, just use the shovel. Now for me, there's no minimal amount of snow that could be had to shovel my driveway in 15 minutes or less. This is not a big driveway. This is a residential neighborhood that we live in, but even a trace amount of snow would take just the sheer time of walking back and forth way longer than 15 minutes to do. Now, all that said, if I had such a trace amount of snow, just an inch or 2 of snow, I wouldn't bother clearing it anyways, unless I was just itching to get out there on my tractor. I guess his thought is that by the time you gas it up, make sure everything's working like it should, get it warmed up and out in the driveway and working, you'd already be 25% done with a shovel. However, if you can shovel your driveway in 15 minutes, then you probably only need to refuel once, maybe twice a winter. So what's the big deal? Okay, so rule number 2, you need to have at least 6 inches of snow in order to use your snowblower. All right, so I sort of agree with this one, but not for the reasons that he's stating. This is mainly because if you only have 2-3 inches of snow, it can be challenging to have enough snow accumulate to push it properly through the chute. However, if I have my tractor or even a walk-behind snowblower all set up to use for the wintertime, I'm going to use it at every opportunity I possibly can. So if it's not quite enough snow out there for the blower, I'm just going to use the pusher on front, or maybe have a plow blade or a bucket or a rear scraper blade, something else. But if you have the machine at your disposal to do the work, then what's the point of doing it by hand? Is it just to prove you're a man? Hey, if you enjoy tractor videos, I'd encourage you to hit that subscribe button down below and follow along. We have more than 450 videos all about tractors, projects, attachments, you name it. We'd love to have you join along. And if you are in the market for a tractor attachment, check out our website, goodworkstractors.com. We sell and ship all over the country. Okay, rule number 3, if you can be the neighborhood snowblower guy, it's a noble and helpful position to hold. Well, this I do tend to agree with, and I think a lot of tractor owners agree. Because if you have the equipment, whether that's a walk behind or a tractor with a snowblower, snowplow, whatever you have, oftentimes you can knock out your own driveway so quick that you don't want the fun to be over with. So you go looking for other ways to help. If you can help a neighbor out, it's a fun way to do that. They feel good, you feel good. It's a win-win situation. Okay, rule number 4 is getting really arbitrary, which is if your driveway is 30 yards or longer, well, then it's okay to use a snowblower. Well, thankfully, I did some measurements and my driveway is over 30 yards or over 90 feet. But man, I thought I could get close there. I thought I may come in at 29 yards and that would be totally unacceptable. But what about those days when it's single digits or even colder, or the wind is gusting and blowing all over the place, the wind chill is just giving you frostbite instantaneously? Who wants to be out there with a shovel tackling their driveway? You want to go out there, get your job done as fast as you possibly can, and get on back inside. The same thing can be said if you have to tackle it before work or after the kids practice or whatever it is. So who knows, maybe this guy is just looking for ways to burn his time. He's got nothing else to do. I can think of a lot better ways to use it though. Folks, we are proud to be sponsored by RimGuard Solutions, a liquid ballast weight. It goes right inside your tires, completely hidden. Not only is it going to help with safety, keeping those rear tires planted on the ground, it helps with loader efficiency and traction too. The benefits of RimGuard include being the heaviest all-natural liquid ballast weight on the market. It's not going to corrode your rims like the old calcium chloride. It's not going to freeze, and it's available at over 1,000 dealers nationwide. Find the dealer near you at rimguardsolutions.com. So note number 5 just happened to make my day. This article, I found it on January 7th, which just happened to be the day that I went over the hill. So note number 5 is if you are the age of 40 or older, it is okay to use a blower. And so while it may be a small thing, this makes me feel pretty good, you know? I get to use my snowblower whenever I want, for any reason, no matter the amount of snowfall, and get away with it. All right, so I don't know if you agree with this list or not. There's a few points I can see make some sense and some that don't, you know, but overall this is just having a little fun. Oftentimes we're just picking one snow removal tool and it's got to tackle everything that comes our way. But I did recently come across an article on Green Tractor Talk, or a forum thread I should say, that says snow too little to mess with? And this was asking a similar type of question, right? When is it enough snow to go out there and take care of? But there's some other criteria that come into play too. Some guys were looking at the long-term forecast, right? If it's just a couple of inches of snow, the sun's gonna come out, it's gonna warm up, well, that snow's just gonna melt away, right? But if it's gonna stay cold, and if there's a couple inches this day and that day and the next day, well, you wanna stay on top of it, clear it off so it doesn't accumulate, pile up, and create an icy situation. Another gentleman has a very similar situation to what I have out here, which is a really steep driveway, and if that doesn't get cleared off, cleaned off on a regular basis, it turns into just a slippery slope. I've crashed and burned on there. Cars slide out of control off the driveway. It's just a dangerous, scary situation. And even if it's just an inch, we got to get out there and clear it off before it gets back down. Now, one of my favorite responses in that thread though, and I can relate to this 100%, is it depends on whether it's the beginning of the season or the end. And I can agree with that wholeheartedly. You know, when you get your snow plow, your snow removal set up in the fall, you're just waiting. You're just checking the forecast constantly to see when the snow is going to be coming so you can take care of it. It's just a blast, all that excitement. But as the winter drags on, I'm less and less excited. I want to see less snow in the forecast. I want to see warmer temps coming sooner and sooner. So I can totally relate to that one. All right, so I'm curious, what do you guys think? Do you have your own unwritten snowblower rules on when it's okay and not okay? Is there such a thing as overkill? I have used some large equipment on my driveway. I don't care, more power, baby. So join the conversation by leaving a comment down below. And if you did enjoy today's video, you want to see more, we'd love to have you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, and guess what? If you own a tractor, you're probably going to be in the market at some point for a tractor attachment. You got to check out our website, goodworkstractors.com. We sell and ship tractor attachments all over the country every day. So I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to stop by, and until next time, stay safe. We'll see you soon.